Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today we're with Shoba Govender, who's from Tsebo Cleaning Services. And we really are here today to unpack what those cleaning services offer. Shoba is part of the Tsebo Group, and as we know, those are an integrated services for residential community managers and property developers. And we just thought we would like to spend a little time unpacking each one of these divisions. Shoba, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Louise.
Maybe we can just start off with a sort of a brief explanation of what is included, what services are included under the umbrella Tsebo's Cleaning Services.
Okay, so Tsebo Cleaning includes our normal contractual cleaning, in which you would normally find cleaners being deployed to certain sites where they would offer a maintenance clean, which is a day-to-day cleaning. So that's contractual. So every month you will get a cleaner coming in and doing those services. In addition to that, we have hygiene services, which then incorporates your bathrooms and ablutions. So all of your equipment that you would find inside a bathroom, your soap dispensers, air fresheners, hand sanitizers, etc. The third one is pest control, which is a more recent addition to the Tsebo fold. So pest control in terms of your monthly pest control equipment rental, detail in terms of the various types of pests that we would treat for, flying insects, cockroaches, rats and mice, etc. Then we also offer what we term the more once-off type of treatment, which is your specialized treatment. These would include carpet cleaning, so your deep cleaning of certain areas within your facility, carpet cleaning, and more recently what we also have included is the COVID cleaning. So that's your disinfectant and your decontamination cleans, which would be done on an as and when required basis. So that's the more ad hoc. So it forms part of the specialized cleaning. So your window cleaning, carpet cleaning, etc., and then the COVID cleaning also forms part of that group of specialized cleans.
So, and the COVID cleaning is obviously a new division within the business that's come up. Did you have anything similar in the division prior to that, which looked at, around health and safety type cleans?
So the Tsebo Cleaning division really has its roots in healthcare. So we pride ourselves in offering cleaning of healthcare standards, no matter what the environment is. So our very first contract was in healthcare. So the healthcare standards are ingrained in everything that we do. So prior to COVID, we definitely offered cleaning of the highest standards. But with COVID, we've realized that you need something more, something over and above that. So that's when we brought in the disinfection, where we would go in if there was a very specific case of COVID reported, we would go in and do a disinfection of the area in which the individual was present. And that then includes disinfection or electrostatic spraying. We also would then do all the touch points. So any touch points like your desk surfaces, your seats, your handrails, all of those door handles, etc., would then be cleaned on a more frequent interval. So maybe every 4 hours, for example. So then that's when the touch points were included as well. And then your other deep cleans, COVID clean would involve electrostatic spraying of the disinfectant on all surfaces. So that would be absolutely everything within the building, your walls, your floors, your tables, your desks, bathrooms, kitchens, etc. So that's more what the COVID clean entails. So that team would actually go in a very specialized equipment and specialized kits.
And do you recommend that most businesses, as they start out, do a deep clean of their environment before their staff return to work? Or how have you been managing this process with the lockdown level 3 coming into place this week?
So we definitely offer a return to work clean. So not all facilities would have had a COVID case. So you would not need to do a COVID clean. So we offer a return to work clean, in which we would send in a team to do a deep clean of everything. So as you can imagine, if your site's been sitting empty for 2 months,
Absolutely.
you would have a lot of dust. It would smell quite stale. Your ablutions would need attention. So we would go in and do a full deep clean, which would then include your carpets, a wipe down of all surfaces that's got any type of dust. Bathrooms, your ablutions would need proper deep clean, so there would be a buildup of uric acid, for example. So just to make sure that the entire area has been properly cleaned for the staff to return, yes, that's definitely what we would do. So yeah.
If we look at it into the context of a residential community living space, often they have an office area where their management team would operate from. But they have other facilities as well, including control rooms, a gym, restaurants, clubhouses, etc. What would your approach be to these facilities? I find a fair number of those clubhouses have been closed during the COVID, and a few of them are opening up just to serve takeaway food. So what would your recommendation be to those management teams and those trustees, how to manage these areas?
So I think each area would have to be looked at individually. If you look at a gym, I think it would need, if and when gyms open again, they would definitely need a higher level of disinfection, simply because of all the touch points. So for that, I would, prior to opening up, I would probably recommend a full deep clean and disinfection be done. For the kitchens, so we also offer very specialized kitchen cleaning. So in terms of all your canopies, so your canopy cleaning, all of that can be properly deep cleaned by the specialized team. But just in general, because a kitchen is where you do all your food prep, I would rather start with the kitchen as well, doing a proper disinfection before you go in, ensuring that all the surfaces have been properly cleaned. You don't know what's been sitting on those surfaces for the past 2 months. So I would definitely go in and do a proper deep clean, top to bottom, deep clean of all the canopies and extractors, any surfaces that would require where you'd be preparing food, to properly sanitize those areas.
And I know that you offer these services obviously to residential communities, and you work extensively in both the retirement and hotel industries. Do you offer these services to an end user, so to individuals living within the communities? Could they make use of your services to do deep cleanses of their houses and their own facilities within their property?
We actually haven't really offered that to individual residents. It's something we can explore. I think if there is enough of a demand for it, it's something we could look at providing. Because I don't think it would be as different from, for example, hospitality or a hotel. I mean, it's a hotel room. So it's something we can definitely consider. If there is more residents that would be interested, then yes, it's something we can look at.
So let's have a look now at the various divisions. So we've mentioned that you work a lot extensively within the retirement and hospital sector. So you have a deep clean sector. If we backtrack a little bit and say to a general cleaner that you could have on a contractual basis, would this mean that that same individual would come to your establishment? How frequently? Is it a person that will then be on the payroll or on your payroll, but employed to service this particular estate every day for a contracted period? Or how does that relationship work?
So if Tsebo Cleaning provides the cleaning services on site, so the whole process starts with having a look at what's required on the site, and then deploying the cleaners. So what we would normally do, depending on whether services are required every day of the week or just from Monday to Friday, cleaners would be assigned to the various areas, and generally from an 8 to 4, 8 to 5, an 8-hour day. Generally, that's what we would do. They would then have tasks assigned for the entire day, which they would then complete. And then that would be on an ongoing basis. So that would be a daily routine. And where anything else is required that's over and above the daily routine, which would then be a periodic clean, for example, or a periodic deep clean, that will be scheduled, probably or preferably to do that at the weekend, whether it's once a month or once a quarter, etc. So the relationship is that the cleaner reports into Tsebo Cleaning. Depending on the size of the site, we probably will have a contract manager who the staff on site would report into, and that person will have some kind of a relationship with probably a facilities manager on site at the estate, who would then have daily interactions in terms of updates and feedback in terms of what's been done, what's still to be done, and in terms of all the tasks that needs to be completed.
And then the actual cleaning staff, I know they become part of the family. I've often heard that the staff become very proud of the environment that they're working in. So because we find within residential communities that there's quite a long security vetting process for contractors. So, it's best to have the same person coming in every day or every couple of days. Do you try and manage the team so that the same teams are servicing each of the estates?
Yes. So we generally deploy staff to a particular site. And that's generally where they would be based, and that's where they would report for duty on a daily basis. And then should there be an issue where someone is unable to come to work for a specific date, should they be ill, then we would replace them from a temp pool. But generally the staff that's been assigned to a specific contract work only on that contract. That's generally the way we keep it, because that staff is then trained in the way in which that facility needs to be cleaned. So very specific training, health and safety has been done. They have been vetted prior to them starting at that site. So we definitely try as much as possible to keep the existing staff on site, because as well the facility, like you said, builds that relationship, and they know that the staff understands what their requirements are. And so you don't need to go every day and then reteach new staff what needs to be done. So that is the reason. And then yes, you're right. They also become part of the family. They really do take pride in what they do, because they feel that they are making quite a significant contribution.
That's great. So just from a costing sort of side, I'm assuming that every estate and every site is very, very different. Are there different types of packages a estate can take on, or if you can just give me a bit of an overview of how the costing mechanisms work?
Okay, so generally we create a package that suits the client's solutions, which is why I initially said we first need to understand what the client wants. So we would need to meet with the estate, with the facility, and then have a look at what they have and what different types of facilities they offer and services they provide as well. So then when we craft a solution, it is done keeping all of these things in mind, because certain areas they might need cleaned more often than other areas. So that's what gets factored into the costing. So we would then probably give you an option, or maybe two options if that's what you're looking for. One where you have a more frequent interval of service, and one where you might want something that's less frequent, or you might want more staff dedicated to a specific area and less to others. So that's what we would need to customize the solution around what the client's actual requirements are. We don't believe a one-size-fits-all for any type of facility.
And what is if I think about the benefits for a residential community, the benefits of outsourcing the service versus insourcing the service. What would you say are some of those benefits for an estate to outsource these services?
I think when you deal with a professional cleaning company, it takes away the worry of having to train staff that's non-core to your environment. you need, especially now with cleaning having such a heightened awareness post-COVID, you need a company who really understands the science of cleaning. Tsebo is this company. We have our staff that's professionally trained in all of the various cleaning services, but also in terms of what and how, what types of equipment to use. It's so important that a cleaner is able to use very specific protocols. Like, for example, just a simple one in terms of color coding, where you do not use the same cloth on your bathrooms that you use on your toilets that you would use in your kitchens. Something as simple as that is so important to prevent cross-contamination. In addition to that, though, we are able to then vet the staff ahead of time. We have a pool of trained staff that can step in should we have an issue where a cleaner is unable to pitch for work for whatever reason. And then as well, in terms of payroll, we have a system in which our staff is able to be paid on time for the hours that they have worked. So all of these, so we have an HR department that deals with any of these issues. I think from an estate's perspective, you do not want the added complexity of all of these HR issues, of training non-core staff, of trying to have a pool of vetted temps that on some days might not have additional work. So our temp pool, we are able to deploy to other sites should there be a requirement for additional staff. And all of these is something we manage overall. So I think it's much easier from a professional cleaning company perspective to manage all of these issues as opposed to an estate whose core function is to really take care of their residents.
And, you mentioned equipment. I'm assuming that when the staff arrive, they are fully equipped with the right materials and whatever it is that they might need. And that equipment then is delivered with the staff and removed at the end of is this done daily or depending on the contract? So do you require a storage facility or do you often set on a larger site? Would you set up a sort of a semi-permanent little office for the team? How do you structure and work on the bigger locations or bigger sites?
Okay, so we would, as part of the contract costing, we would then put in equipment. And this is something that an estate wouldn't want to do. So we would then source the equipment that is required. Some of these would be, for example, Veleda mops, carts, the buckets, the wet floor signs, the vacuum cleaners, the scrubbers, polishers, etc. So we would then require a storeroom on site where we would keep all our chemicals, all our equipment, which would then be used on a daily basis by the staff. These would then be also maintained by Tsebo. Should any of these equipment break, we would then replace them with new equipment depending on the intervals. All the equipment would be sourced by us, and then we would make sure that we have the correct equipment for the staff to perform their functions. So depending how many staff on site would depend on how much of space we would need to store this equipment. We preferably have all equipment on site. The only time we would bring additional equipment on site is when we would do a specialized clean, for example, window cleans or deep cleaning of the carpets. We would then bring in an additional team with additional equipment. But generally, all of this is stored on site for the cleaners to use on a daily basis.
Do you think now that we've had, and we are in the middle of a COVID pandemic, that this is really that for estates and trustees who are working on with their budgets to really now take the concept of cleaning extremely seriously, and that looking at a professional organization in the long term is going to offer them long-term savings, and it's going to put the safety of their homeowners and residents up front. And how would you, as a professional cleaning company, how would you look at the budget at this point? If what percentage of a budget do you think you should allocate to cleaning? Is it as simple as, you can look at a percentage of the overall size of the estate and try and work it that way? From a maintenance and cleaning perspective, how would you advise trustees to now look at this line item within their budget?
Sure, I don't think
it's a hard question. That sorry.
Yeah, I wish it was as simple as that. I think traditionally cleaning has been a very invisible industry, if I can say that, because everyone wants the area clean, but you don't really want to constantly see a cleaner cleaning. So the way we see it now, I think cleaning has now almost been brought to center stage, because you want to be aware, or clients, residents, visitors want to be aware that a facility that they are entering has been properly cleaned. So one of the things we're looking at is how we brand and bring out or share with our clients the fact that when you deal with a company like Tsebo, you are cleaning with confidence, because you then would realize that cleaning isn't back of house like the way it used to be. So I think, that being said, your clients would want cleaning to be more visible. You would want to understand that the cleaning has been done correctly with the correct equipment. I do believe the cleaning budgets will have to increase. By how much, I can't tell right now. But because your frequencies will definitely have to increase. The type of chemicals have to be, and you have to ensure that they are properly certified. So just that being said, it will increase. I unfortunately can't give you any indication of how much. I wish I could. And I think the size of the facility will give us some kind of indication. But again, a full costing would have to be done, depending on what is required. Yeah, so it's a difficult one.
Could you say that for a residential community, cleaning is now as important as security and their lifestyle elements? So, and landscaping, maybe, if you think from budget perspective. So your cleaning has risen from, it is as equally important as having a secure system, a well-landscaped facility. You also now need an equally important cleaned and need the various processes in place, deep cleaning, etc. Yeah, it's the rise of the cleaners.
I agree. I completely agree. Because when it comes to cleaning, you're fighting an invisible enemy.
Yeah.
So you can't. I don't believe that you can take too much of precautions. So I definitely agree. It should be on the same level as your security, because it's a different type of security if you think about it. You're looking at the security of your well-being. You're looking at the security of your health. So it's definitely brought to center stage. And I think you definitely want equipment that's more efficient. You'd want a clean that is more efficient. You'd want a team that's properly trained. You'd want chemicals that have the proper efficacy. So yes, I think the level of importance of cleaning has risen far beyond what it would have been in the past.
And so just from I know within the security division, they're now introducing screening processes and assisting estates with the screening process at the front entrance. Other than the COVID cleans, is there any other products or services that you've introduced because as an effect of COVID, other than the ones that you've mentioned?
We've seen a marked rise in the increase in demand of, for example, sanitizers. We've always had sanitizers as part of our product range, but obviously for the past 3 months that has gone through the roof. So it's your hand sanitizer dispensers, those that have a sensor, or those that still have a push button. Then also the sanitizers that have a foot pedal dispenser, so you press the pedal with your foot as opposed to with your hand. And then those are pretty much it. We also offer the sanitizing maps. So when you walk into a facility, you actually wipe your feet on a map that has a sanitizer in it, so you don't carry through any pathogens or germs into a facility. So those are pretty much it. We are looking at opportunities where we can use robotics. We haven't really developed the solutions yet, but that is something we are looking at. We had brought in the electrostatic sprayers for disinfection, which we previously hadn't. And then also the backpacks and sprayers as well, which was part of the disinfection teams. So those are definitely what we have brought in over and above what we previously had done. The very first interaction that the estate manager will have with someone from Tsebo Cleaning would be to try and tease out exactly where their pain points are, where they find that they have a need for a more enhanced or a heightened clean. But I think the Tsebo Cleaning staff has the ability to try and elucidate areas that have been overlooked. So try and have an open and frank discussion as possible about where the issues are and what they need to be looked at, and really allow us to build a solution out, what our recommendations and what we propose as a solution is, before they look at the price. I think that's going to be critical. Yeah. So the pricing discussion should really come second, and the actual need should come first in terms of what they're looking for and how important the overall clean needs to be.
So, as we're working, as you mentioned earlier, we're working within residential community spaces, and it is a person space, and cleaning requires chemicals. Perhaps you can just, give me a little bit of understanding around the chemical choices and if there are risks for people around these types of chemicals.
Okay, so we ensure that our suppliers source us the type of chemicals that's specifically suitable to a site. So should a client request environmentally friendly or green chemicals, that is what we would provide. Most of our chemicals are eco-choice certified. So if that is the requirement, by all means, that's what we will do. Non-toxic, safe for use. Depending on whether it's specifically for a healthcare type environment, and that's the type of chemicals we will use. A lot of it's also based on efficacy. So the chemicals, disinfectants, etc., we will ensure has been properly certified for its use for that specific requirement.
And from a staffing component, where are you sourcing your staff? As often estates see these as community projects or an opportunity to create a community project. Can you tell me a little bit about your staff sourcing processes?
Okay, so where again clients require that we source staff from the local community, then we oblige. We advertise in the local community and then build up that staffing pool from that area. So since training is given to all our staff, they also write exams, and it's an ongoing process. It's a continuous learning process. We ensure that these staff are properly upskilled to be able to perform their job function. So definitely from a local community, if that is the requirement.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate, and thank you also for getting back to me so quickly. I really appreciate that as well, and making yourself available. All right, have a wonderful day further.